And we are recording. Okay, good deal. We got a small group of folks, so I'll go ahead and go through the introduction and we'll get started. As always, I'm Brian Kynes, the creator of the Tales of Ulran campaign setting. We use Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition to tell our story, and all the fine folks that are joining me help write it one story at a time. And we are missing a lot of folks today. Heather and Kara are transporting kittens. I don't know if it's to a shelter or someone bought them, but they're trying to get their numbers down a little bit. Um, the taxes are getting to be too much. They were going to start to have to opening a petting zoo, from what I'd heard, if they'd had more than, what is it? I think you can have 24 cats. Then you have to have like a petting zoo license or something, Jeremy. Something like that.
That sounds about right for me.
Sounds about right, doesn't it? Yeah. Hand out tickets like, now don't touch them. But they'll not be joining us. Alex is in a pool tournament, so she'll not be joining us. But other than that, we've got to my side here, I've got Danny McGuffey. I'll be playing the roles of Dahon and Bastille, I believe, if we do it correctly tonight. Down below, Danny, it's Jeremy Keaton, as always, playing Merc Steelcrest, which is piloting Brahmus, the celestial construct. And then just down below me is Hunter, and Hunter is going to be playing the Earth Genasi monk Calibahn. Okay? Right, yo, he says. So, we're gonna try to get done what we can tonight with limited folks. At the end of the last episode we were on, everybody, well, a lot of us, were getting ready to go to a weapons maker, and he specializes in making weapons and ballistas and things like that for the airships that are in this particular city, which is the top of New Gamdar, called Skywatch. It's kind of a newer place that they're developing. This place is ran by a gnome that resembles and sounds like John Malkovich, and his name is Big Gun Dabl-dun, and he just helps people out doing all kinds of wheeling and dealing. He's got a nice big display room in there that shows all kinds of cannons, ballistas. A very busy place. He has other gnomes and people that are down their luck working with him up here in the city. Extraordinarily business savvy person. And we were all getting ready to walk in there because we're trying to help outfit the airship, the Lilung, in order to make this journey to some lands that we're not very familiar with. We don't know what kind of shit we're getting into, but so far the flavor is some Monster Hunter video game type prehistoric Skull Island-esque shit, which is really exciting for me because I've never really messed with that too much. So, looking forward to seeing how that all happens and if I need to be proficient with the blow dart gun or what exactly happens here. So, to help with editing, Heather and Kara were messaging me earlier. I have brain freezes because there's a lot of names in this game. It's funny. What Kara was saying is all she wants to do is follow around Silouan, and she wants to go polish up her flail and make sure it's getting ready and all those kind of things for the trip up ahead. Maybe take her armor to get it repaired where she's had the hell beat out of her by those shadow goblins from about a month ago. We're doing that in the downtime. So we're going to say that Silouan and Tamara are off taking care of those things, and we're also going to try to do something. The people that Oma met, the native Oma, Alex's character, the two folks that are from this very Mayan Aztec kind of society that we're getting ready to go see. There's these two folks that do work on armors made from creatures. Okay, and I'm going to role play out and say that she actually went to them with her wyvern armor that she's tried to make for herself. If you guys are familiar, Silouan is armored in something that she's kind of helped patch together herself, with the help of some other avians from back in the city. but this is an empowering thing that she wears, which reminds her how she lost her wing, which was battling wyvern cultists, and it was a bad deal. But so this armor isn't made the best, but it has the wyvern wings on the side of the helmet, and it has some of the scales from it. I'm going to work with Heather and try to see if she wants to spend some money and see if they can't help her perfect what she's made a little bit more. The name of the two people, and lots of names. I apologize if I can't remember all of them. Where are they at? Yes, what's going on?
Sorry for the yelling.
You're okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Shut the door, kiddo. Okay. My daughter's apologizing. Her and the neighbors are out there howling like coyotes. Actually sounded real at the window. Norbu was the male, and Kamani was the name of the female. They were the two that were from this actual bunch of islands that we're getting ready to go to. Which, by the way, guys, the islands that we're getting ready to go on this hunt, this is the official names of it, okay? So if you all write this down, do it, because it'll help me remember it. This is actually called the Crescent Cradle. It's a series of 3 or 4 islands that are just to the west of the Bay of Hope. Okay, we will have to take the airship southwest, and we will be crossing over Thornwood, which is where the Veiled Elves are originally from, where the land is actually becoming corrupt. Jeremy, you know a little bit about this. We've talked about it in little bits and pieces in the past. But the actual names are the Tenocha. Tenocha. The Tenocha Islands, or as the mainlanders call it, the Crescent Cradle.
About to take their 40 now. This is
Okay.
so.
There are several different islands here. We'll get into all those names and stuff when we arrive, but that's the main place we're going from. And the two that I mentioned earlier, they are Tenosians. That is where they're actually from. Okay? So, Heather and Kara are off doing that thing. Sade was going to test fire her crossbow. And there's a testing grounds that she actually goes to practice things that she keeps fairly hidden from everybody. We wrote about it in some detail earlier. I'll have him roll some dice and see how all that goes. And also, I believe that he will be having an encounter with Miasha and Asliar. This will be the first time Asliar has spoken or come to light ever since Gleandra and the ship and all the shadow goblins and shit happened. So Gleandra's been mending herself, and Asliar just kind of disappeared. Jeremy, if you remember in that big fight, Asliar's bond with his pact weapon was broken during that fight, and Asliar's kind of licking his wounds, trying to decide what he's going to do now. That he broke some promises to some people, and now he's kind of powerless at the time being. Okay, relying basically on his water genasi abilities, and that's all he has left. So what that limits us down to is you all. That limits us down to Dahan, Merc, and Calibahn being in this group and getting ready to go into Big Gun Dabl-dun's. Okay? Alex had already said she's going back to the ship to get ready to prepare some things. She talked to those two people about fixing her ice-resistant cloak that she got from the dwarves as a gift. So she's off doing that, so we're good there. Danny, I'll start with you. I'll narrate just a touch for you here and get you caught up to what everybody else is into, okay? As you arrived back in the city of New Gemdar with your best friend and adventuring buddy, Drayden, the Lion Felidae, you've tried to keep secret that you're even back in town. There are a lot of wheels moving, and there's a lot of new information that you learned in the city of Nojil. A lot. To the point that you've decided that you need to get the help of others, and do some more investigating before you go into the sands of Demir looking for the sand pearls, the lost piece of the puzzle when you learn how to start casting chronomancy, which is going to be very, very interesting. Okay, the last spell component needed to get into that ritual. A rare gem that is found swirling around these large gravity wells in the middle of the desert, almost like black holes of the earth. And these sand pearls are formed in those special conditions, and that's where you're going to have to travel to get one. Drayden, my character, the Lionfield A, has decided that he would like to go back to the Sanctuary of Wrath and do a little bit of training now that he knows the kind of creatures that he'll be up against soon, and wants to prepare himself for them. And there's one particular move he's been working on that he believes will be of great benefit to the both of you. And he's going to the Sanctuary Raft to work on that. You try to disguise yourself, walk in the shadows, try to conduct your business through town the best you can. And in your doing this, I won't reveal your plans to everybody else and your whole connections and power plays that you're in the middle of, but let's just say this. After making several different stops that we've already talked about off camera, you find yourself going to Big Gun Dabl-dun's, okay, to check in on a favor that was supposed to have been done for you once you took down that, what was it called, a beller? Those hounds that had the faces pulled back?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a monstrosity one that went off just outside the city, and you and a group of folks, including Tharu, the half-orc hero, took him down and shit. So the gnomes that you saved there and that were carrying these experimental weapons on their wagon said because you had saved them in their cargo, they would make you something. And you know that they've been to Big Gun Dabl-dun's. Okay? So I'm going to say that you just arrived, Danny. Okay? And a Dabl-dun is working tirelessly. He has literally 3 books out in front of him at the same time, and what seems to be like some kind of construct of like a small scale catapult like device that he has in front of him, and he's talking with 2 or 3 other gnomes that seem to be looking around very curiously at the table to see what's going on. He's like, no, what you're not understanding is that if this is going to work in this particular way, there must be stability. Let me just show you because I know your minds can't grasp what I'm saying. And he's getting very frustrated with them. And so he puts a lead ball into the small catapult-like device. He says, and then we add the element of this, and then we're doing this. And when he hits it, this thing shoots up and shoots this little cannonball across the countertop, like kids playing. All the 3 gnomes that are watching are like, oh, and they watch this thing go flying across, and this thing shoots a pretty good ways. But the catapult itself twists, bands fly, you hear a pin pop and shit, and there's just wreckage. There's just, looks like someone took a bunch of Legos and just went blam on it, right? And carnage is just left on the fucking countertop. And he's just like this. Why would the gods be so cruel as to just show me a glimpse, just a glimpse, of what we could accomplish if I wasn't surrounded by small fools? You are fools. Do not kid yourself any differently. All of you, even you. And he pulls the beard of the oldest one like this and tugs him twice as his hat comes down kind of over his eyes. And he kind of pulls his head back. He says, now go find my lead ball. Put this back together. And as he looks across the room, he's getting ready to say something, and he makes eye contact with you, Bastille.
Okay. He would, at this point, Bast looks like a moon elf noble, but he's looking around. I'm going to do a perception check to see if there's anyone he recognizes other than the gnomes he's looking for that would know him.
Fair.
I got a natural 1, so I'm sure he thinks he perceived well.
You look around and you catch a reflection of yourself in a mirror in here, and you're just kind of looking at yourself. You were like, I wonder if anyone else is. Oh, hi there. And you're looking at your costume to seeing how, if you're concealing yourself correctly, you lose complete train of thought of looking around this place for anything. You're like the Born Identity has ADHD.
Yeah, he's actually, and he's using the warlock skill, Mask of Many Faces. So it's actually a magical disguise.
Which is very impressive as you're looking in that mirror with a roll of a 1.
Yeah, yeah.
So, as you're doing that, the rest of you walk in the front door. What would your marching order to be, Danny? Drayden knows this place better than the rest. Or sorry, Dahon knows this place better than the rest of them. You've been here before. Just for shits and giggles, Danny, I want you to roll me a charisma check.
Which character?
For Dahon.
Natural 14. Let me grab his sheet real quick.
Okay.
Folder.
Oh, Brian.
Very nice, buddy. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it, man. It makes it nice, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what are you looking through now when you're gaming? Is this a laptop or just your phone, or what is this?
This is a tablet. I'm using.
Well, I know that's a tablet, but what's actually recording your image?
Oh, my phone still.
Okay, cool. Because the image is good. I mean, you're coming in clear. The picture's good in the background, and your voice is coming across good. So whatever you're using is working just fine.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway, Danny,
let's go with the natural because I cannot actually. I'm not sure where Dahon's sheet is.
Roll 1d4 and add to it then. I'll do it like I do NPCs.
15 total.
Okay. Well, Dabl-dun rolled a natural 1. So here's your relationship with him, buddy. He doesn't care for you very much, but he respects you because he's intimidated by you and he knows who you work for. Okay? So that's what you have to expect from him as far as Dahon's concerned. As far as Bastille is concerned, you've never met this gentleman before, but you've met the 3 gnomes that are with him, and Bastille recognizes them as the ones from the wagon that were supposed to be a weapon for you. Okay? So.
It was a +3. I found him.
Okay.
He's behind Bast in the folder.
It's all good, as well he should be. So, with that, the marching order is going to be Dahon's going to go in first. I would say followed with Brahmus at close second, and Calibahn is going to be third, walking into Big Gun Dabl-dun's.
Leisurely, not really doing anything other than just taking in the sights.
Okay, cool. Like I say, as you walk in, there are several different awesome-looking ballistas, arcane cannons, netting devices for netting creatures, for dropping nets on fish, and it's neat. The display room, when you walk into this place, is like a warehouse. Like you're walking into like a large warehouse-like place that's set up with aisles in between it and things on display. There are pictures and paintings on the walls of different things that have been slain and shot down and killed with these weapons, and testimonials too. Scrolls that are endorsements from all kinds of different people from the city. Even the Intrepid, which is the fleet ship here. You guys would recognize that automatically. At this point, Dahon, when you step in, there's a lead ball that seems to be rolling across the floor, and it rolls right into your foot. As you look down, this lead ball is about the size of 2.5 marbles, maybe 3. Okay? And as you do, there are 3 gnomes that are walking across the room and look up to you for a minute, and the one's like, sorry about that. It seems it got away from us. Pull here, Big. If you wouldn't mind, could I be so intrusive as to maybe The other one says, man, just get the thing back from him. Let's take it back here. I'm sick of feeling like a fool all day. We've got business to do. Let's go. Says, all right.
He nudges it with his foot over to him.
As you do, he's like, condescending yet playful. I appreciate the sentiment. Okay. Anyway, back to the ball. Goes over, picks it up, and begins to walk back across there. As you look up, Dahon, you look over at Bastille, which seems to be admiring himself in a mirror, which is extraordinarily arrogant. What does Dahon say? Do you acknowledge
Bastille is still looking like the other character, but for game's sake, I'll say as he looks into it, he sees Dahon's reflection.
The face.
And he melts the image away and then turns to see Dahon.
Okay. So, I don't want to have you have to have a conversation with yourself, as odd as that would be, but these two people do know each other fairly well. Okay. What is Dahon thinking at this moment? It's like he's back in town. Is there anything particular Dahon would want to say first?
What are you doing here, elf?
Okay. And your reply to that would be, you're trying to be secretive. You don't want to let folks know what all is going on. Go ahead, and I can play the part of Dahon here if you'd like me to.
Awesome. Matter of fact, I'm looking for you. Aeolus said you'd carry something back to the ship for me.
It's funny. You just up and leave without any kind of explanation to anyone. And now all of a sudden, I just walk into supposed work that you have for me. He just gives you kind of a gruff look, and he says, I think you're overstepping your bounds a bit, don't you?
He snickers and he says, does it always have to be a pissing contest with you?
If it was a pissing
Just because you didn't know everything was going on, it worked out in the end, didn't it?
As he snorts and spits a loogie on the floor and grabs his junk and shifts it, and he goes, if it was that kind of contest, Bastille, I'd win every time.
Yeah, I'd say you've probably handled more of them than I have.
Like I said, what are you doing back in town? And does Aeolus know?
Aeolus knows. I've already seen him. Turns out I'm going for a ride with y'all, and then you're going for a ride with me.
With you. You're delusional. He says, fantastic. Dahon turns around and looks at Brahmus. Jeremy, you still with us?
Looks like he froze.
Okay. As he turns around, looks at the group, he looks back at Calibahn and gives you kind of a knowing nod, and he goes, whatever it is that Aeolus would need us to take care of, whatever my captain would need us to do, we're able-bodied.
I know I am. Can't say much for others. This one over here, he points to Brahmus. Like, this one doesn't look like he's going to be much for fatigue. So work him hard.
Okay. Nice. With that, Dabl-dun walks up into the group of people having some kind of stressed conversation. And as he does, he's messing with the device of his hands. It's like watching a person work on a Rubik's Cube without looking at it. It is impressive. Whatever this device is, he is working on it and it's twirling around through his fingers. He's putting it together. It looks like a mixture between I don't want to say a compass and a, goodness gracious, how can I even describe this thing? It's a very weird mechanism, and it seems to help with the navigation or the aiming of one of these particular weapons. And he's trying to line it up, and he's getting it all worked together. There's something that looks like a level. You see an air bubble going back and forth through some liquid as he's trying to adjust it. And he looks up at you guys through just one spectacle. Very slicked back, elegant. He has darker hair that just has bits and pieces of silver and gray in it, but is primarily dark hair, tied together with a long ribbon, and it has a long train down his back. He dressed almost like a steampunk composer. Almost has like the Beethoven kind of long tail and the high boots and a properness to him with a large collar and stuff on what he wears, but it has that steampunk feel with the gadgets and shit, very close to what Dantus, the dwarf, has on the ship. Okay, and as he goes, so you've came in my front door. And I'm glad you are able to find it successfully. And now that you've came in here, what is it exactly I can do for you? I know you didn't come here to share pleasantries, as I've heard none thus far.
Bast,
Bastille.
Bast turns directly towards him and he says, I believe you have something that was needed some improvement. And he says I don't remember the gnomes' names, but he said they brought something in and I think you were going to make some improvements so it would mount on a ship for me.
He looks automatically over at the one gnome that picked up the lead ball. As he hands it back to Dabl-dun, he taps him sarcastically in the head, and he goes, well, there are many things in this establishment that need improvement, gentlemen, but I believe I know the one particular is that you're asking for. My question, however, to you would be, how do you plan to pay me for my efforts in constructing it? And he looks at you with held words as if he's getting ready to say the next line, but he wants to see what you have to say. Bastille.
Well, it wasn't mentioned that I was going to have to pay for the improvements. And how much would that be?
Okay. As you say that, the gnomes look suspicious. The three gnomes that you saw from the wagon before are in like kind of like this little comic like huddle, whispering amongst each other. I don't know exactly how much do you think it would. I'm not sure how much that would be. How much did he have to do on it? It's like, I don't know. It's blew up twice, and they keep talking about this comically until the three of them are like, okay, break. They turn around, and the two kind of stand back and push the one up towards you as he takes his hat off and reveals semi-balding hair underneath a slicked back hairdo, and the one gnome looks up at you. He says, so our version of it we could have just given to you. Right, guys? Right? Yeah. But it kind of didn't work the way we planned for it. So Dabl-dun's made some improvements and got it working. However, with that, we lost. And then Dabl-dun interrupts him and goes, the patents and the idea and everything else. I mean, just because children decide that they're going to light their farts on fire doesn't mean I owe you money when they come in here with a match and gas. And he's just kind of smiling at this, and he says, seeing how I'm kind, Bast, is it?
Bastille.
Bastille. Multiple syllables. Try to keep up, fellas. And he's talking, being condescending to the gnomes once again. He walks around, and he's walking in between you guys. He walks in between Brahmus, and he's looking at him. And gives him a long look, and he goes, so I know that you were coming. And he walks over past Calibahn, and he's kind of looking you up and down. And
I'm looking at one of the shelves, messing with something.
Okay. And he goes, I knew most of you were coming, and don't touch that. That's not for sale. He says this to you. Okay.
You put it back on the shelf.
Okay. So he continues to walk around as if he's holding court. He says,
As he turns around, I grab something else and start messing with it.
okay, as he does, roll stealth check.
13.
15?
13, 1, 3.
Okay. He doesn't see you doing it. Roll a 1d4 for me.
3.
Outstanding. And then roll me an investigation check, please.
I'm pretty sure I have something
Uh-huh.
extra for investigation
Of course.
other than my wisdom. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's gonna be 12.
Okay. You have found some kind of device, and as you've picked it up off the shelf and started piddling with it and messing around with it, you notice you hear one of the three gnomes that is being scolded practically and being condescended to go, and as you say that, you seem to have turned on some kind of mechanism, and it begins to pulse and go.
Sit it back down.
Well, when you go to sit it back down, you take 1d3 points of lightning damage. Well, 3. I rolled a 1d4. You take 3 points of lightning damage to yourself, and the thing smokes and fizzles and sits on the side. Okay? This looked like it was some kind of ammo or some kind of makeshift grenade of some kind. I need you to roll a Constitution check to see if you're able to show that you were hurt or not. You might yell out like "shit," or you might be like, So let's see how your Constitution check goes.
I know I have something for Constitution, so
Mess with shelves in my game, will you? By God, we'll fix that shit right now. Okay.
Could have been the golden hand of Midas for all we know.
Oh, you don't know. You don't know.
So you know, if you get turned to solid gold, I'm selling you.
A lot of gold, man.
At least there's a lot of mass for
Oh dear
for
God.
Calibahn, so he'd get a pretty penny.
Yeah. That's a retirement plan, guys. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, turn Calibahn into solid gold.
Well, he is Earth. We'll just squeeze him until he becomes diamond.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. We'll get him all
Okay.
tight and shit and pull him out of his ass. It'll be good. So, what was your Constitution check?
I'm trying to. Okay, I guess I don't have
I'll
anything.
tell most to 10.
Again, I rolled a 9 3 times in a row.
Okay.
So my Constitution check would be a total of 10.
Okay, you let out a modest yelp. That is even you. Okay? As he does this, Dabl-dun turns his head and looks over towards you. And just kind of takes a deep
arms across,
breath and doesn't make eye contact with you and be nice. As I was attempting to say. And he continues on with what he was talking about. He goes, I only ask, well, 2 things. One of which being 800 gold for the actual device, which is well worth it. Don't think I don't see your condescension. What I do here is not an exact science, you must understand. There are things involved. You simply do not reach out and pluck lightning from the sky, put it into a bottle, and shake it and aim it at things. There are procedures that we go through for this. And he goes, and the other thing, I wish to study your friend. And he's talking about Brahmus as he turns around and looks at Brahmus.
Recipe for shrimp etouffee.
He looks you up and
Do
down.
it to her later.
He says, I have a person that we've split ways with years ago called Zand that operates the training dummy down in town. And he has told me quite a bit about your performance in front of Vander's shop only several days ago. I believe there's a lot I could learn from you. This. You both. Whatever. He says, so my price is 800 gold. Plus having 2 to 3 hours to take some notes down from you.
100 gold, and I'll introduce you to someone who's helped construct them.
He goes, and by saying that, are you proposing that you're going to introduce me to a god? Do not take me for a fool. I know what he is.
Then you would know that avians helped build them. The construct that you see there is inhabited by my friend, and you're not going to poke and prod on him.
Brahmus, you can speak
without
up
his permission.
Okay. So I need you to roll. Are you wanting to do a persuasion or an intimidation here, Danny? How are you coming across with this?
First with the persuasion, he would, let's do persuasion.
Okay. And Calibahn or Brahmus or Merc, either one of you guys can help him with this. If there's something you want to add to the theatrics, what would you like?
I will do so.
18 total.
Okay. And what are you saying in this, Calibahn?
I was like, this thing isn't made by a god. I've punched it hard enough to know. Things made by gods are a little bit sturdier than that.
Nice.
And he pats Brahmus on the shoulder.
Okay, Brahmus, what are you saying in reply to that?
What Merc is saying, not on the microphone, is, all right, I need to learn to pilot this thing a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it is a godly construct, and it's still just a guy trying to pilot it. It's like, all right, yeah, this sucks.
Right on, I get it.
But through Brahmus, he would assist in the persuasion by just telling him that I would be more than willing to put forth a little of my own gold towards that, just to learn a few things about myself as well.
Okay, and the other side of it. So, he's putting the twist on it. He'll also learn about himself if Dabl-dun investigates it a little bit. So,
before he gets a chance to say anything, he says, then 100 gold, you help him unlock stuff through your studies, and I'll introduce you to someone who knows more about the lore of it than anyone.
So now you get advantage on your persuasion. Go ahead and roll 20 again.
As he says it, he looks to Brahmus and he says, if Brahmus is good with that. And he stumbles over that because he hasn't been around you for a while and realizes we're in mixed company.
Yeah.
Brahmus will just nod.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Better than last time?
Oh, yeah. 14 plus 7, 21.
Okay. This deal that you're proposing appeals to me, but coin makes weaponry, not dreams. 600 gold. And now I'll be helping you guys in 2 ways. Helping unlock whatever it is that you've stumbled into, and then giving you your lightning in a jar. There are other ships, the Dreadnought, for instance, that might be very interested in this cannon and would easily be able to pay that. So what does everyone, what do you think?
Honestly, I don't know how much.
What is your protection? Oh, wait, we're at Skywatch. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong area.
You don't know how much coin you actually have?
No.
I know how much I have, but I'm not sure what it adds up to. I have 10 platinum and some gold on me.
Okay, do you remember how much gold you had?
52. But I
Okay.
don't know
That
what
would
the
be 52 gold.
Platinum is 1,000 gold, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be
Right.
1,052 gold.
Yeah.
Actually, I have 9 platinum because I spent 1 in the bar that night.
952 gold.
Yeah.
How much would
I have. Now, Brahmus, what did you end up getting from all that? You wrote that down, didn't you? Now, mind you, you're outfitting them, but Aeolus would have put some money in Dahon's pocket too to take care of this. So is Dahon speaking up or saying?
Dahon's going to let Bast eat it because why would he spend coin if he can make Bast do it?
Point made. Okay.
I know Brahmus is sitting on 2 platinum and 575 gold, so 2,500 gold altogether.
So you guys have enough to get it done.
Is there anything you want in trade other than gold? Is there some item, some piece of a
He goes,
rare
absolutely.
creature?
The last 5 minutes of my life back.
For just a second, there's a dark scowl that passes over Bast that the guy that he used to be comes forward for just a second when he
Okay.
says that. And he takes a step forward.
Okay, as you do. He seems to lean in and just rear a little bit, but his eyes are fixed and looking through sharpened eyebrows up at you. He is a very hard person to intimidate and has made his stand on this deal.
Let's keep this civil. You said 600 gold,
I initially said 8.
and we're at 6. What I'm offering is you can't make these things without certain pieces. I'm trying to recall because I know there's a portion of the water dragon we killed that Bast could lay claim to, but he doesn't know what pieces are available.
Roll a, I don't know, history check. Have fun.
Oh, let's see. History. Plus 8, 20, 12
There's
and 8.
nothing in here in this shop you can see that's made out of material quite like that.
It says, do you know Gwyneth in the Heart of the Beast?
That's kind of like asking me if I know gladiator champions. I see their statues, yet I have not shared drinks with them. I know who she is, yes.
I have shared drinks with her, and I
Now,
occasionally
hey,
work for her. And that's what I'm offering is in addition to some gold, maybe there's something special you'd like when I said rare creatures. We are actually headed to, and he looks back to Dahon and he goes, what was that chain of islands Aeolus said we were stopping at first?
Tenosha or the Crescent Cradle?
The Crescent Cradle.
There could be something. However, one will not survive in the Crescent Cradle unless you buy said object from me. I do not
Then
make
how about I'll put the 600. He lays 6 platinum out. He says, how about I'll put that down? And what's this item you want?
He looks at the other 3 gnomes and he goes like this and brings them in. And he whispers a couple words in their ears very, very softly. The one looks at you with a crooked eyebrow and looks back and he says, I will have it drawn up and delivered to Aeolus before you leave, and I'm assuming this is going to be a tomorrow thing. Dahon knows that they're leaving before light in the morning.
We will be gone by dawn.
He goes, well, then they have some writing to do on my behalf, of course, for said item. If you're able to bring that to me, I shall return 400 of your gold to you.
Fair.
It's not the 100 you arrogantly asked for earlier, but it's closer if you survive.
He smiles and reaches his hands out. He says, "It's a pleasure to do business with someone who knows it so well."
Insight check. You're full of shit, Danny.
Shit, insight.
22.
Oh,
You're doing performance. Did you roll natural 20?
yes, I did.
Fucker. I swear to God, D&D's broke. Scrap it
I
all.
hate this game. They need to fix it. Put it on a patch or something.
I know, right? Yeah, it needs a patch. It needs a 2.5 or something, man. So,
Hey,
yeah,
real quick,
yeah.
I misspoke. A platinum is equal to 10 gold.
Oh,
Not in my campaign.
Oh, and yours? Okay.
It's they're 100 each. Yeah, yep. So, and I think I wrote that out for you guys initially. What a copper was, what a silver was, a gold, and a platinum, and it's in multiples by 10 each one.
I have that wrote down in one of these notebooks or folders.
Yeah. Yep. So it's all good. It's all good. Silvers are $1, coppers are a penny. Gold is I think $100, and then a platinum is like 1,000. That's the way it works. And there's different size ones. Which ones? That's the standard here. So, with that, you guys seem to strike a deal as he looks to you to be a sarcastic person, but then shakes hands and realizes that you're being very sincere. And he puts his leather-gloved hand inside of yours and shakes it heartily, which you're surprised for someone as fancy-looking as he is, right off the cuff. He goes, and now, if you'll excuse me, I must begin the writing of the list and the things that hopefully you will procure for me if you do not die on your journeys. He says, be free to look around. Tell a friend, of course, of anything you see here that might blow a hole in something. And he looks at Dahan because he says that kind of smart ass to him because he knows that's all he really cares about. And he points at him when he says that shit. He flips up his tail color of his long jacket and walks back over to the counter. He has the golden hand. You guys have given it to him, correct? Okay. The other two gnomes that are left, go over to the side and have a corridor there where they want to take you back to the workshop where they actually have things that they procure. Now, the interesting thing about Big Gun Dabl-dun's is there's a docking place for airships along the back of it. That's where you pull the airship in and they do the work in installing it on the ship for you. That's typically how it works, like a car garage for fucking airships. Because why not? Okay? When you go around the corner, go ahead, Hunter, what's up?
Before the shopkeep runs off, Calibahn will ask me, like, do you happen to have any equipment or personal-sized cannons?
He looks down at the other two and looks back up at you for a minute, and he looks down and he says, I do, but they take some manipulation. They do not simply shoot firebolt from what you pack in them. But they are a conduit for people that can use arcane cannons. You do not look like a practitioner.
I am not.
But you know someone that is?
No. I was assuming that it would have been powder and iron.
We have basic things. I believe if we're talking about the Lylung, though, they should already be equipped with said items. What particularly were you looking for?
One I could transport on my person.
Interesting. He goes, I believe if anyone here could carry one, it might as well have been you or the other one. He looks over at Dahan sarcastically. He says, so, and you just coined a phrase. So you're saying a hand cannon of sorts.
Of a kind.
He looks at you with your ragged clothes and your monk demeanor. He looks you up and down. And he kind of has a smirk and smiles. He goes, and what would someone such as yourself be willing to pay for a cannon that you could strap on your back?
Well, first off, how much gold does Calibahn have?
Okay, so I would say, and mind you, you lost your ass. You were really down on your luck in this place to
Yeah.
begin with. And you
Yeah.
also are a monk. You don't carry a whole bunch of wealth around on you. I'm going to say that you have 15 gold and 13 silver.
Okay.
Write that down. That made Jeremy smile. He's like, peasant. That made Jeremy smile. That's just
All I'm over here thinking about is a turret mounted on Brahmus.
I don't know.
I live a simple life.
You're the only one that had to pay rent, Mercs. I don't want to hear shit from you. You're good. You rent free.
If Brahmus gets a turret and it doesn't have like 3 laser beams that come out like the Predator.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are you saying here, Calibahn?
Well, he will take out his tome, and he
Okay.
was like, I will let you inscribe the first chapter of this tome. This is a tome from the gods.
That's Snickers.
Yeah, and Bast would snicker. Yeah, of course, I get that. You hear an audible snicker of sorts from the veiled elf, which is like a version of a moon elf, over on the side, dressed in long hanging robe and roguish type clothes to the side. So what exactly is it, Hunter, that you're offering here? I'm not sure I understand.
He's gonna let him copy the first chapter of the tome, like the introduction to the path of the Gygas.
Okay. As he looks at you handing over this book, he looks at you and he looks like you don't understand where you are. He gives you a very, I think you're in the boys' restroom and you're a girl or something, the kind of look. And he walks up to you and he goes to look in the book and he goes like this, like, it's for you to bring it down a little lower so he can see it. As you do, he looks into it for a moment. So, what was your name again?
Calibahn.
Calibahn, just to be clear, you see, this is a brain, and this is a book. And he points at your hand and goes, that's a fist. And he goes, and this is a tool of intricate design and knowledge. I don't need to learn how to punch things. He goes, I just make big guns. And he holds his finger up and he points at this big sign on the ceiling and he reads to you without breaking eyes from you, Big Gun Dabl-dun. Not big fist. Not big foot. Not even big penis. Just big guns. And he he pushes your hand sarcastically to raise the book back up to your level. And he goes, I'll leave that for you.
Snaps it shut and puts it back in his pack.
God, he's such an asshole. Oh,
Yeah.
God. But, you know.
As he's walking away, he'll just be like, fine, let's see if I bring you back any parts. Any monster parts.
As you say that, there's no reply. Are you leaving because he's getting ready to take you guys back and show you the can? Or are you going to go wait outside? Or
No, he'll just walk around, and then whenever he's showing them,
Hunter, do you want to touch something else on the wall or anything?
Say again?
You want to touch anything on the wall or anything while you're looking around?
No, I think he's good.
You good? Okay, just make sure. It's D&D. I want to leave you the option to explore and have fun in the space. So anyway,
Did we determine that this guy is the one that would be able to deal with the tower shield that Brahmus is looking for, or is that someone else?
That is someone else. That's Tavaster. That's the
Yeah,
one of
that's what I thought.
the heroes, the warrior's altar, the forge. That's a very sacred place that Bastille could probably actually introduce and take you to, because Bastille knows the guy pretty well. From that, the two gnomes that weren't writing up that book of things that Dabl-dun might need for you guys to collect for him, they escort you down a side hallway. And as you do, there are all these awesome paintings of great airships, signed documentation, stamped to them with like wax stamps of the crew and stuff that did this and that and the other feat. And there's all these awesome harpoons along the wall and have different things etched in like a golden scratched etching, talking about what they did and what ships and what creatures they took down. And as you make your way down through the hallway, you come into the other big part of the warehouse, the back end. And when you do, and he opens up the fairly large doors with a device, because they can't open up very large doors. As they push open, and little puffs of steam and smoke seem to come out of there, and you can hear chains retracting up the walls to clink, 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 as these big doors seem to open up onto 6 or 7 large docks that go out into space. You're on the back side of Skywatch now. You're on the side that faces away from the central city of New Gemdar down below. You're looking out into the vast reaches of the forest up north towards the Longhorn Dwarven city of Argon. And you can also see to the very far west the long stretches that would lead towards No Jill, the magic capital city, but you cannot see the city from where you're at. It's far too far away. But that is the direction. The cold winter air blooms in on you guys. It's biting at first. As you walk out onto the docks, there are 3 different ships there being worked on currently right now. He walks over to a station area where there are different cannons that are being taken out and put on, almost like tires in a garage, of all different kinds of things. You're seeing equipment and arms out here that are groundbreaking. You're seeing some shit, and none of it, mind you, we are not a very futuristic. Nothing in our game is futuristic. There's no cats of freaking laser beams, okay? But there are some very interesting things, and it's all called mechon, which is a gnomish word for mechanical. It's the best they can derive it from it. And they call these things mechon constructs, okay, or arcane mechon, mechon. And lo and behold, as he walks along to the corner, the one gnome walks over comically and stands in front of it as there is a leather apron that seems to be laying over top of the thing, held down with some weights. Part of the actual cannon head is sticking out. He goes, well, through Dabl-dun, our vision. I said ours. He's looking at the other one. He's standing there pridefully, smirking his head and looking like that. He goes, ours. Right? He goes, our creation came into being, and here for you all now. May I present to you the breath of the Lylung, the thunder thrower. And as he does, he pulls back the cloth. This thing has been fashioned to look like Leviathan, the sea serpent. It looks like the metal scales on this cannon are polished to where they have like a bluing substance to them, and they shimmer as the opening of the actual great sea creature's mouth opens up. Between the teeth is the actual cannon head itself. It has a long set of fins on all 3 sides of it that almost looks like it would keep it from being attacked from creatures above, where it's almost like something that would have like the sharp bristles on a fish or something like that, would keep things from being able to attack the cannon itself. It has 3 wheels on it that would help it maneuver, 2 big ones in the front with 1 central one in the back, and a seat that would fit someone a little bit bigger than a gnome on the back ass end of it. Okay?
Bast would look at that, and then he actually looks up at Dahan and he says, "Looks like your buddy Dantus is probably going to cream all over that when he gets in the seat."
Who do you say this to?
He actually says that to Dahan, and Dahan would actually chuckle.
Yeah.
As long as I
Dahan
don't
pretty
have
much
other-
tell me, he's like, I've got to believe it. Dantus has had a hand in this somehow. This looks like something that would be written right out of the story of Aeolus's book. You know what I mean? It just looks like it'd be custom made for him. Having said those things, he goes through and gives you a brief rundown of what the canon is actually. With a natural 19, he gives Dahan and Bastille a very thorough rundown of what this thing is actually capable of. Okay? Now, I want you to realize that any time, and write this down, Danny, anytime Dantus operates this particular cannon, all the damage on it has advantage on its damage rolls. Okay? This thing can do 3 different functions. Alright? The first one is it can throw out a Thunder Wave spell. Cast at 5th level. Okay? And the range on this Thunder Wave spell is going to be 120 foot. It can throw it out and it'll explode in a location like that. It almost throws out a sound wave that explodes up to 120 foot away. Okay? Now, it also does a thing where it can shoot a regular harpoon out of its mast. Okay? And what it does is when that harpoon hits a said target and sticks into it, it can then also do a lightning bolt spell that will connect to the harpoon. If the harpoon hits, this can be ignited and it automatically creates an arc that connects the two. Almost like a lightning rod. Okay? And the third one is like a short range blast. This thing can do a version of Eldritch Blast where 4 projectiles come out of it that are lightning-like with the same thing as Eldritch Blast cast with 4 coming from the caster. And the attack roll bonus to the 1d20 is plus 10 on that. So all these things, when you're rolling your 1d20, the attack bonuses to this are all 10.
What is what is a lightning bolt cast at?
5th level.
Cool.
Okay, now the only issue you would have is how many times you can use it. Okay, so what happens is there are 10 points. You want to write down 10. 10, you want to call it breakdown. Okay, so each time one of these things is cast, you roll 1d4 out of the cannon. Okay, and you deduct that from the 10. Okay, when that thing gets to 0, it takes 1 minute for each point to come back. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. And the components and stuff to make this thing operate are not cheap, and Dantus will know more about that on the ship. Sound good? Does Brahmus have, or I'm sorry, does anyone have any questions for him once he's got done explaining what this thing is capable of doing?
The only thing Brahmus would do is just like as they're leaving, or otherwise sees him more or less by himself, he's going to approach him just to say a couple of few words before they leave.
Okay.
Bast would actually ask if he could just have a schematic on operation in Dwarven.
We can get that to you. I just don't have it ready. Okay? So with that, the one explains to you, it's like, just have Aeolus park it over here in bay number 5. And when he does, we'll go ahead and have it outfitted. And if you're leaving in the morning, we can have it ready by then with no additional cost. The fee's already added into Dabl-dun's figures for you. So you've already paid for it. You might as well use it. He smiles, trying to be reassuring, because he knows there was hard negotiations over the money earlier. He's very nervous around you all. Okay? So, with that, when you guys see yourself out, and as you are, Jeremy, you can have your moment with Dabl-dun as he is at the counter again, trying to put back together that little catapult creation that seemed to fly apart as he's muttering things to himself in disgust.
Is there any part of that crossbow that would resemble any of the mechanisms of the castle? Any of the sprockets, springs, anything of that sort?
Roll in I'm trying to decide, would this be perception, investigation, or history?
Probably.
I'll let you pick, Jeremy. Yeah, it depends on how you want to look at it, and I'll tell you what you get.
Say perception, history,
An investigation. Because I could see a reason for any one of those 3 to be part of this. You know what I'm saying? I don't
we'll
want...
do investigation.
Okay.
It's 16.
16 total? Okay. Well, yeah. So, you see things that are impressive. You see things that you know are inside of Brahmus from your memories. Things that have been created there based on the person that inhabits it. But as far as you delving in and finding anything around here that looks like something ancient, something that isn't from your own mind, but that mind of the angels and the celestials that built Brahmus, you don't see anything particularly here that speaks to that with that roll. Okay? So,
Okay.
Looks to be a complicated piece you're trying to work on.
and you're saying this to, and he looks up and he goes, so you can speak. And he goes, it is, but not nearly as complicated as what I imagine you go through daily, with a question mark after it.
Imagine walking up a set of steps that's never in the same place twice.
He goes, at my age and my racial tendency, I try not to imagine walking up penny steps, rather making a machine that could do it for me. Or a mechon, sorry, I misspoke.
Fair way to think.
Bastille looks back and he says, "Oh, the other part of that." He says, "Do you have parchment?"
Oh, you mean the dwarven?
No, because he's talking to Brahmus. It just occurred to him that he had made promises that he would put him in touch with someone that knows more.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Someone knows more about what? Refresh me real quick. Sorry.
The constructs. Basically, what he's going to do is give him a letter to take to the gate of the castle, and it'll be sealed with Bast's mark. And for Ignatius, that this guy is safe to talk to, but don't leave the castle grounds. Don't put yourself in danger, but to have a conversation with this gnome.
Okay, and what are you wanting from them now? I'm sorry.
That was part of his bargaining, is he said he would put him in contact with somebody who has actually helped in creation.
So are you writing that up for him and handing it over to him?
Yeah, and I hand him that letter and tell him where to take it to the castle gates.
Roll a a performance check. I just want to see how well you write it and how well it comes across. Or you can
14.
choose to do it poorly or sarcastically, however you want to do, Danny.
14. Performance?
Yeah.
14 and 8. 14 and 8, 22.
Very good. You write this very well and elegantly, to the point where, as he's talking to Brahmus, he simply looks up through his eyebrows at you and nods his head over to the side to lay down the paperwork. He goes, I shall look forward to consulting this so-called professional on ancient angelic things.
I have a feeling you'll get sidetracked about things that aren't angelic.
I don't get sidetracked.
Wait till you meet him.
And he keeps talking to you about this, and the feeling of he is a chess master. When you are talking to him in casual conversation, everything that comes out of his mouth, although he means it or not, is about getting some bit of information from you. Whether it's like asking things of a question mark, like, do you wake up in there? What's it like? When you say these things back and forth, there's always something that he says that answers a question with a question. And he's extraordinarily graceful at it. Brahmus, Merc, you would pick up on this in your conversation. Is there anything else you would wish to say? He's almost starting his investigation just by speaking with you, and it starts to become apparent. It's not insulting, but it's respectable. He's a clever fucking guy.
And he would use that to his advantage. He would pull out a platinum and lay it on the countertop
Okay.
and tell him, consider this an investment. I've been in this body for a great many years. Use this to find any tools, any research that you may need. Because I am just as eager to learn as you. And I am banking on your skills and your abilities to help me learn things that I don't know yet. So consider this, while however small, an investment in things that you do.
Roll a persuasion check with advantage. Platinum goes a long way, guys.
$30-20.
I love how Heather's things have just became part of our lingo. The dirty 20. I just love it. Oh wow, yeah, you crushed it. He would say to reply to that. He goes, an investment. He says, I'll have you something to walk up your stairs with eventually. And he smiles.
Bast listening in is looking around at the facility.
Uh-huh.
Is it big enough that there's probably housing in it?
It doesn't seem like there's any rooms in this particular place. This place is for work, and there is a lot of work. There are endless shelves and storage rooms. It's like your worst nightmare of a tool sign out shed. I mean, it's ridiculous in here.
Because Bast knows that he rarely sleeps, so he would say, it would be crazy if someone could provide you a place to stay in the city. I mean, they would have access for questions and things of that nature.
Are you saying this to Dable-dun?
That he actually just kind of mumbles it out loud to Brahmus. If you had a place of your own where you could just sit down and have a conversation with someone that knew about you, wouldn't that be something?
Camaraderie of the evening would be nice.
He's got a place back at Vander's, but it's more like a storage facility for a machine rather than a place for a person to stay. And, Merc hasn't been treated to that kind of comfort in a long time. And he hasn't taken it either. He's almost trying to... He's been so inward. He's just now starting to learn that there are things he can do with Brahmus that give him outward joys and things of that nature as well. And that's a funny thing you bring up, Danny. Good job.
And with that, what I'm actually trying to do is persuade that guy to offer him housing so he has more access to him.
Even if you rolled a natural 20 on that, he is now very busy with what he's doing. Not just that, but he's got a lot of different shit on his plate, so he wouldn't bite that hook. So, anything? I know you're pondering. Is there anything else you wish to conduct here? Are you guys getting ready to roll?
He looks to Brahmus before he goes out. He says, if you asked him, I'm sure he would find that place. So he had more time to work with you.
Okay. Brahmus, what do you say to Bast?
All in due time, I'm sure. Once he's settled in and has time to dedicate to his research, I'm sure there'll be something we can come up with.
So Brahmus is taking a more patient approach towards it, which you hate to see him. He's taken a lot of time in his life. So, okay. So is there anything else you're wishing to say there? I don't want to cut you off.
No, and that was kind of the reason I knew where he was at Vander's shop, it being like a storage place. And
okay, yeah, it's true.
Bast being the way he grew up and everything like that, he would just, maybe I wasn't clear hinting around. I should have been more direct. Do you think you could offer him housing in exchange for more access so the two of you can work together more?
Hunter, tell me about that item that you have that does that gravity thing. Tell me about that on there.
Bracers of Gaia's might.
What is it called?
Bracers of Gaia's might.
Okay, and what is it they do again?
I can push or pull 2 key points. Strength check, DC 120 plus wisdom and strength modifiers. When being pushed or pulled, the foe suffers the slow spell until the end of their next turn, and they have restricted movement.
Okay, that's cool. As you guys are walking out and leaving, what's your passive perception, Hunter?
I have a +5, +7. So that would be a. How do you do the passive? I know there's a +7, 10 plus my bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be 22 passive.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. Good to know. As you're leaving, Brahmus, you notice something that he does not. And I wish you to play as if you didn't notice this. Okay, Hunter? Because he rolled a natural 20 on this. You see one of the other gnomes and stuff take what looks like some kind of device and touch and stick on the back leg of him as he's walking out with just a quick little glance and a move, and it attaches to him and stays on him, on his back leg. And then he just keeps walking on as if he didn't do it, like a pickpocket in the middle of the night. And there's some kind of small mechon device, maybe the size of half a potato chip, that seems to be stuck to the back of Calibahn's right leg. Okay? No eye contact is made or anything like that. Do you wish to say anything, or doesn't seem to be in any apparent danger, but just very peculiar and odd?
You said Brahmus did notice it?
Uh-huh.
Is it like does it like light up, or is there anything that's gonna catch somebody's attention specifically? No. Like if he's walking by, they're just gonna think, oh, that's just part of him.
It looks like maybe the head of some kind of recently made amulet or something like that.
I think for the time being he won't say anything.
Okay.
But it will be something he'll have a note on in his mind to keep an eye on.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. All right. With that, you guys leave there. Where is the next place that you guys are headed?
Calibahn would look for a weapon shop. He's looking for ranged weapons, javelins, darts, anything that he'd be able to throw.
Okay. You're not so familiar with if those kind of places exist, but are you asking the other guys if maybe they know of anything, or are you just kind of looking around to see if you see something?
I think I'd ask Brahmus. I'd tap him on the shoulder, and Brahmus, I usually spend most of my time in the tavern and the fighting pits, so not particularly too versed in this city. I'm just looking for some ranged weapons, javelins, things I can throw. As you're aware, my skills lie in punching things, very close combat. Figured it would be good to have options.
So you are going to Tavaster's, and although you don't know if he would give him anything particular or not, he's never been to Tavaster's. So do you overhear this conversation, Bastille or Dahan?
Let me roll for both.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me help you out a little bit. I'm going to say that Dahan stayed back behind when you guys were in there and wanted to talk over more of the specifics of how the cannon would attach to the Lylone. It had some things and some notes he wanted to follow up with for Aeolus, and is going to stay back behind and work with those guys on preparing the dock for the ship. So that's where Dahan's going to stay for now, okay?
All right. Well, then in that case, I'll cheat and take the higher roll.
Of course you will.
With his perception, it would have been a dirty 20.
Okay. You do overhear the conversation. He's not exactly trying to hide it. And what is it that Bastille is saying?
I know the city pretty well. Let me know what you're looking for. We can probably find it.
And he said, ranged weapons and things of that nature. And you realize he carries that quarterstaff on his back, and he carries that is it a spear, or what is it? The other one you have, Hunter?
Spear, a modified spear quarterstaff.
Okay.
And just because last time we played, that I actually got to play with you. There, Tex, is it?
Yeah.
Tex. Are you from Texas?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's right. I think we may have discussed that, but I was probably drinking last time.
It's all right. You were.
So he would say, how big is Calibahn?
Calibahn? I'd say he's not particularly tall. He's probably 5'7", 5'8". He is dense.
Oh, wow. So Bast is actually looking almost eye level with him. Bast is around 5'6", being an elf. And so he would look over to you and go, we can find you something. And Dahan would probably be going back to the ship to arrange all this.
Okay. So, Jeremy, do you want to go ahead and head to Tavaster's now, or somewhere else?
Yeah, but the only thing he'd say, kind of in passing, is, why would you use ranged weaponry?
There again.
I know, kid.
Why would you need ranged weaponry? I don't feel like the fight would be all that fair to wear them down before they get to you. You can wear them down face to face just as easily.
Well, in case we are traveling to a land of beasts and creatures, I don't know if there'll be any that are with wings, so to say.
Okay.
I suggest a grappling hook.
I can barely hear you.
Might I suggest some sort of grappling hook?
Bast laughs and pats you on the shoulder, and he says he's trying to catch a bird, not a fish. He needs a net.
They're offering you to get a grappling hook. What do you think, Hunter?
I could use a net.
Okay.
Net would seem with restrain. I could punch something that's, not necessarily fighting back, but that doesn't seem as fun.
I get it. So
Bast is just like looking down. He's like, fun. Great.
okay, so with that conversation, you're wanting to find some ranged weapons. Some of these folks here aren't quite sure if that's even something you would need, but you want to have that. Is anyone mentioning to him possibly that's where you want to go next, or do you want to go? And by the way, mind you, they're leaving before daybreak tomorrow, and the sun is just now starting to go down where you're at. So it's about 7:30, 8 o'clock at this point. So whatever you've got going on, it's been a pretty decent day of this already. We'll say it's 7. Okay.
Already had a fight today, and
been several different things going on today. So
yeah. Bast draws his hood up and looks to Brahmus, and he where is it you wish to go, my friend?
Brian, you said, has Brahmus been to Tavaster yet?
You've not been, but you've heard of it.
My understanding that there's a decent shop for weaponry, defenses, and the like. I believe I was told that if I commissioned for something to be made, that would be the place to go.
What do you think, Bastille? You think he'd be welcome there? What do you think?
He looks up at him and he says, "You'll have to tell him your true name."
For what purpose?
Just the way he does business. And you can tell that he's kind of being, he's not being short with you, but he's not going to forthcome with a bunch of information around somebody he doesn't know. You've been around him enough to know that he.
Yeah, I think he would pick up on that pretty easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bast doesn't lie usually, but he doesn't always tell everybody the whole truth.
Okay. He'll nod. I understand.
So that's in the lower part of the city. You'd have to go through Skywell to get there. Okay. So would you guys like to go ahead and start your descent and head to the lower part of New Gemdar to head to Tavasters?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm game.
Tell you what we'll do then. Let's go ahead and I'm going to pause this. Let's take a 15-minute break, get some more to drink, go do our things, refuel, and then we'll jump back in, and I'm going to do some rolls to see what happens on your way there.
Okay.
Okay, so let me pause this, then we'll talk for just a second, and I will be pausing the recording now. So, we are recording again. I'm back after Dan just told some old school stories about us, and I'm the only one too shy to show off my bare shoulders. Didn't realize it was the man show today. It's all good. But having said that,
Now, girls bouncing on trampolines.
Good old-fashioned shit, man. So, you guys are headed down through Skywell to get to Tavaster's, the Warrior's Altar, which is what he calls the place. Which one of you feels the most lucky? I need you to roll me a 1d20. 20 and bad things happen on the way. 1, it's an easy walk.
Ooh. 8.
Not bad. Not bad. As you're going down that way, who do either one of you? I know you don't know her at all, Danny. Brahmus or Merc, do you have any experience with Mayash's character at all?
Other than just a tiny little bit that I was able to see.
Okay. Do you remember that she would stand up and perform on Skywell? And on different corners? Well, as you guys are walking down through there, roll a perception check, Jeremy. He was like, me!
Yeah.
So,
Well, my passive perception is 22,
I
so.
know. But it's not you because you wouldn't notice this. You don't know her.
14.
14. You notice that she's not there in her typical spot. And you can see that there is another bard and another group of people that have taken her normal place where she does magic tricks and sings and does sleight of hands and does acrobatics and things of that nature. And they're gone. But with a 14, you notice something kind of peculiar, and it's worth taking a note of. You see a side profile shot of a cloaked figure. It has a short cloak, and they seem to be a tiger felidae as well, like her. Only this one's male. Younger, maybe a little bit older than her. And it's standing there, nodding its head, slowly listening to the music. One of the very small handful of people that is actually looking at that place where normally she would be playing.
Is this the same Tiger Days that worked at the Drunken Mug Zone?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
That's just worth noting that you rarely ever see that breed of person. And this is another one that showed up there and is in that similar space. Okay? As you guys descend on down through there with no problems whatsoever, becoming late, you notice that the lights are being lit through town. There is a ceremony that goes on for the main stretch of New Gemdar on the lower level, where some of Valamar's more honored guards go through and light up lanterns and stuff in this kind of light ceremony that they go through. They take a walk around the lower perimeter. They're starting to do that now. It's actually quite beautiful. It's something to enjoy. A lot of kids will come out of the windows of their homes in the residential district to watch this being done. As you make your way a couple blocks into this lower level of the city, you start passing very familiar places. The stone is wore out here, and there are many hoof tracks and people tracks in the streets, which have been cleaned off fairly well. Lots of travel in this main area, and you see that Tavaster's shop is open, Bastille. And of all things, the front door is wide open with the sound of work going on from the inside of it. And outside of that building is leaning someone that looks fairly familiar to you, Danny. It is Dorbac. And he is leaning on the outside of the doorway, twiddling a dagger in between his fingers, comically, with amazing reflex, even for someone just goofing off. For those of you that don't know, which would be Hunter, Dorbac is a halfling rogue / ambassador looking character. He seems to be the Prince of Thieves practically. He looks like a mixture of Eugene Levy and William Defoe. He has Eugene Levy's look and large nose and big brushy eyebrows and things of that nature, but he has a very William Defoe way of speaking. He is a mixture of the two, and he is standing outside of that place just looking down the snow and whistling slowly something to himself.
How far away are we from this area?
Say 25 yards away. Also, Brahmus, you recognize who this is because he's the one that had the council meeting with us up above the drunken mug to help propose the plan of how we were going to get the shadow goblins and how we was going to set up people. This is that same Dorbac, okay? That guy. You've never met this person before.
Okay, but I see him and I assume that's where we're heading, correct?
You could assume. What are you saying, Danny? Remember, Brahmus has never particularly been here. They're all kind of following your lead. So what would you say at this point?
He just rolls his hood back and he says, I guess I could stay at the mug tonight.
Well, I'm gonna at Bast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bastille. I'm gonna tap Bast and be like, is that not normal? something unfortunate happening there?
Nothing for you to worry about. He looks and then he shifts his attention back to Dorbac and he says, I'll be right back out. Let me introduce these two to the Tavaster and I'll come outside.
He smiles. You can see a little bit of his teeth as he looks down hard through his thing, and he goes, and he doesn't make eye contact with you, Danny, but he makes sarcastic faces. He goes, such a shame. To imagine I'd be here stopping introductions from people. The great Bastille brings more people in here to be worshipped in the fires of victory. He goes, you notice the door's open.
He says, he looks at Brahmus and says, tell Tavaster you know me. That'll at least get him to talk to you. He looks at Calibahn and he says, I don't know you well enough to offer the same, but maybe he does. And he nods towards Brahmus.
So, what's
Should
happening?
I inform the master that you follow, sir?
I can't hear you, Jeremy.
Probably the beard acting the sound of it. Should I inform Tavaster that you're going to be following us?
Are you going to be following him?
Maybe.
And Dorbac smiles, looking down, goes, maybe. Maybe, he says. Go on. Go have your moment with the old dwarf. That's fine. I'll be just over here waiting on you, as always. And he nods and he goes to walk off.
I actually walk and follow him, letting them go in by themselves.
Okay. So, I'll deal with these two going inside there first, and then I'll deal with you talking to Dorbac. Okay, Brahmus, you walk in, and you can see that there's one large, heavily fortified door that leads into this lower level place. When you walk into it, it has a large cathedral-like ceiling, and but it goes down in levels as if it's been dug deep into a below ground like room and space inside of this place. You'll notice on the outside before you walked in, this is an old dwarven make place called the Warrior's Altar. Okay? And there is a billboard that hangs outside the door of what looks like an anvil, a hammer with a halo circling around the hammer, and then it has a fallen warrior leaning with his back up against the anvil. That's the sign on the outside. It's rugged and paint worn, but it is striking. The actual sign, it would make you take a moment to appreciate it. It's very fine artwork. It's done, and the message is very apparent. Okay. As you walk in, you can see vaporous heat come from a construct that that ancient angelic celestial mechon that you were looking for in Dabl-dun's gun shop. This is the closest you've seen to it, but it's a different styling to a degree. I'll try to explain this the best to both of you that I can. It's a hard thing to explain. Have you ever seen the movie The Dark Crystal? Okay, do you remember the first time when they go into Helga's place and it's that large moving construct that looks like the planets and the earth all just moving around and all this huge mechanism? This is akin to that. When you go in the front door, I will explain this to you and I'll let your imaginations run. There is a forge here that is unlike any forge you have ever seen or dreamt of in your lives. There are 4 anvils that you can see. Each one seems to be made out of some kind of different kind of rock. One is an extraordinarily black onyx that has shots and lightning bolts of silver and sparkle through different pieces of it. Another one is very, very pure white, almost seems to be made of metal itself, has a pearl-like reflection to it. There are 4 anvils that ride on these pillars and pedestals that move around in rotation around this thing, almost like a tilt-a-whirl at the fair. Okay? Um, in the middle of that, you see a large central, finely carved stone stack that goes up towards the ceiling. It spins on an axis, almost like some kind of churning thing, old school, or like a grinder where people would turn around it and the big stone wheels would move. It seems that all 4 of these different anvils are used to construct different things, and the fire has different colors that comes from it. It has different flames and openings on each side, large places where levers can be pulled, and the anvil will actually travel up wheels, go inside of that. Large bellows will open up in the ceiling, almost like big air dusters, you know what I'm saying? And you'll hear the big inhale of air from outside and push through this. The flames will shoot through. Um, it is in fact the warrior's altar, which is what the whole place is named after. Um, there is a large round bar that encompasses the outside of this thing. That seems to have 1 or 2 breaks in it where people can enter and leave from it. As you walk in, there are many different mannequins and hanging things on the walls that have different people's weapons. There are tags hanging down about contracts that have been filled, contracts that have not been filled. Things on these mannequins you've never seen before. And then, Calibahn, roll a perception check for me, please.
20. Mod 20.
Okay, dirty 20 then.
Uh,
Okay, when you look over, you happen to start recognizing, you see a pair of gauntlets over on the side on the wall, and it sparks your interest just because that's something you're familiar with. And I'm just taking a hint from the last time, you like to look around the place when you go inside. You don't really have too many fears or concerns. And as you are over there looking at that, you look down and you see 5 or 6 different tags hanging off of the finger of this piece. That seems to have some kind of description, some kind of names, things like that. That looks like it's quite old and sun worn, and the paper looks old. What exactly are you doing? Are you touching? Are you studying? Keeping your distance? Or are you looking around some more?
I'm gonna look at the paper first. Like, I'm gonna try and read it.
Okay, as you touch it and hold your hand up to it, you hear a very low, strong, passive voice come from the depths of this large mechanical construct of gears turning and stone shifting and metal breaking and these big fans pumping on top and the sound of flames, almost like you're listening to the side of a dragon's belly. This voice would remind you of Thanos' voice from the Avengers. Actually, the character that plays this dwarven person, Tavaster, it would be played by Josh Brolin, the same person that played Thanos in the movies. Okay? Is everyone familiar with him and who he is?
Yeah.
You hear this strong, sturdy voice pierce from deep within this mechanism. He goes, I would recognize you if you were here to claim those young men. I would recognize you, but I don't. And you hear a heavy sigh. As from around the corner comes a dwarf that is dressed in nothing short of like a very well used full body leather apron. Okay, and seems to have braided with rings some kind of armor on his body, and bare armed with stars along his shoulders that look like there's someone has taken a fire poker and burnt like some kind of marks in him as if they've ruined him with almost scarification. A very somber look. He looks like Josh Brolin with a steel gray beard and no mustache. The beard comes down to here and makes a long, strong tusk and goes straight down to a very non-flashy braid, and his tail tied in a knot at the end. He wears a head bandana low down to his eyes. It's leather that ties in large knots and large flails of it go down toward the back. His arms are heavily cut and muscled. He wears large boots that are heavy when he walks. And I mean, it's amazing how steel gray, and almost, it's crazy. You've never seen a dwarf with this exact color. You've seen gray and you've seen white. This looks like the color of steel almost. Okay? And as he walks over, and you can see the shadow come from around the bar, he walks around the machine, and he sits down what is a smaller than you would have imagined hammer for the noise coming out of it, and sits it down over to the side and looks over at a mug and goes to grab it and holds his hand to it and stops and doesn't, and walks on from around the counter in one of the parting areas, looks over and he goes, "Those are weapons that the owners never came back for. I'll leave them hang there as a tribute to the people that laid their arms to the side so I may work on them. And if their families would ever choose to come by and pick them up, they'll be here. What can I do for you guys?"
Brahmus.
He looks at the both of you very patiently, but with a stern look on his face the whole time, looking back and forth between the two of you.
Well, I'm pretty sure Jeremy said something. I can't hear him.
I'm
Okay.
probably having some mic issues. Does that sound any better?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a fair assumption that your name is Tavaster?
That is the name I was given at birth, not always what I've been called, but I am Tavaster, owner of the Warrior's Altar. And I
You
don't
were highly recommended to me by several people.
Several people.
And I was asked, or I was told, rather, that you would be the one I could speak to who commissioned something. You may know a friend of mine by the name of Bast.
He raises an eyebrow and nods his head to the side. Looks over a wall at some things that are hanging. You can't identify what he's eyeballing. He says, as he does, and he says that, you see him kind of rub his chest a little bit, as if he's rubbing an old wound. And he says, I do know of Bast. And he goes, and if he sent you here, then he must have explained to you the bargain, the price you pay for my services. And he turns his back and he walks along and he starts flipping through some books, some large ledgers on the table with his large muscled back showing towards you guys now. What are you saying?
I believe it may have been brought in passing, but I would be just as content to hear from you what the price is.
And he goes, and you, man of the earth?
Well, I'm just looking for some equipment. Your wares on the walls, it caught my eyes.
I have equipment. I have all sorts of things that can make just about anything that has ever been created before. But you have to ask yourselves, what are you willing to leave behind in order to take something with you? He turns and looks over his shoulder, and he looks at you and he looks you up and down, Brahmus. And then he spins all the way around and looks at you, Calibahn. He puts one elbow back on the bar like this and rests and looks at the two of you. And he scratches his tooth like that. It takes the headband off, and it reveals more stone gray hair, receding hairline but straight gray, pulled back into two large braids that go down over top of his shoulders, like this. Okay? When he takes that do-rag off, takes it, and he wrings the sweat out of it. It's leather, and it still holds sweat. And he sits it down on the counter with a thud. And he goes, the price that weapons take on the soul is enough for people to pay. I try not to add the burden, to ask for anything more, man-made coin or otherwise, from the people that walk through my front doors. He goes, but you have to ask yourself a simple question. Is there something that I can help you improve that you can't do by yourselves? And he looks over the wall, he goes, will your stuff be hanging on that wall one day? Or are you the reason why maybe someone else's stuff is hanging on that wall? Look at it. And he looks at you two to stare at that wall of the deceased people's stuff on that wall. And do you do this?
Brahmus does.
It is a lot of things. At least 250 at a minimum of different things that he has worked on, and they look like they're in very good condition, but there are tags and tags upon them. It is a lonely look into the future of warriors and stuff and people that have came here before. It really sinks deep with you.
Is there any way, looking at it, given the fact that they've been kept clean and polished, that to tell kind of right off how old some of those things are?
Yes, you can date some of these back to your age.
Is there any in particular that would strike any kind of interest in Brahmus?
There's
perhaps symbols or anything like that?
There's two particularly that hit home with you. One makes you flinch a bit. Okay, well, yeah, there's more than that. I'm going to give the other two to Calibahn, though, just for role-playing purposes. Because I rolled a 4 on a 1d4. The first one that really makes you cringe and almost hear the noises in battle, and I want to talk about Merc inside of Brahmus for a minute, okay? When you look there, you see a very crude and hardy steel pike that you know were used by the Draken at the foot of the Mountain of Tears. You know men have perished on the end of it. Okay? But for some reason, it seems like it has been redone. As if it's been rebraided and re-leathered and repolished to where this does not look like the evil and crude weapon of the minions of Deneroth that were coming there to kill the mortals. This thing looks like it's been given a new chance, and maybe the person that owned it a new chance with it. Did they die or did they choose to leave it there? You don't know. The second thing that you see seems to be a trident of some kind that has a shawl that hangs over the side of it that seems to be made out of a multicolored bluish greenish scales that seems to adorn the handle of this thing. This thing is 3-pronged, with the central prong being longer than the other ones and things of that nature. It is leaning up against there too, and you know that the Tritons used such weaponry. These are the people that live below the waves, and you have only heard legends of them, and you know that they surfaced during the original meeting of Brotherhood at the Bay of Hope, which was a ceremony that went on a long ass time ago. I'm talking like 600-700 years ago. And for him to have a trident weapon in here really shows how worldly Tavaster is and how his outreach is. For this to be here is a rarity. Okay, the other two things I'm going to go ahead and give over to you, Hunter. You see something that you are familiar with. There are a pair of Felidae war claws. Felidae are the cat version of people in our world. And there are war claws. What's crazy about these is these seem to have an Aztec-like totem of a cat's head on top of the handles. These seem to be used in some kind of ancient ceremony. They look like they're more as an art piece than something that would work as a weapon, but they seem to be hanging there as well. And the fourth thing that you particularly would notice are weighted bracers, somewhat to your own, but this looks like a set of them that are chained together like manacles, but you recognize them for what they are. They're weighted to teach people to raise their strength after wearing them for so long in fighting. They're to slow you down and to strengthen you over time. A torturous device, you can't imagine how hard it would be to fight with these things on, but the person you would come out on the other side would be much stronger than the one you are now. Those are the four things you see hanging on the wall that no one has returned to claim. Do either of you say anything after he throws out this statement and asks you to take a gander at the wall? It's almost like you're reading names off of the, up there in Washington, D.C. of all the fallen soldiers and stuff like that. It's that kind of effect. I'll ask Jeremy first. Did you have any kind of reply, or you have any questions to ask? He doesn't exactly speak in riddles, but he's very vague, and a little bit. That's just his nature. So, what would you like to say?
Spear. I remember it well. Not that one in particular. But I remember fending off a great many.
He squints his eyes and looks to you. I can't see how that's capable, son.
It's there.
Who are you?
Many call me by the construct name of Brahmus. My name is Merc. Merc Steelcrest.
Hold on for a minute. Holy shit, Jeremy. Holy shit. Holy shit. With a natural 20 on a 1d20 and a natural 7 on a 1d8. He walks up to you, and this is like something that you would see. Oh gosh, I don't even know. I'll just let your mind reel in this. He walks up to you, and he says, Steelcrest. Steelcrest. He walks up to you, much shorter, and looks up. And he holds out a very strong, thick, dwarvish hand after he wipes it on his apron. And he goes, Steelcrest. Is it?
He nods.
Thank you. He says, thank you. Thank you so that people like me could put down our weapons and live in a world where Draken can walk freely in these streets and not have the shadow and burden of their creators upon them. And he holds his hand up to shake your hand, almost like someone thanking a veteran for their service.
He returns handshake.
Okay. Strong and sturdy, more than you would think for a mortal of flesh and bone. You can feel yourself, the push against the construct as he reaches down, knowing that your touch through this thing is getting better and better. He looks over at you as if he's waiting for you to say words. Hunter, what are you saying?
He's gonna Calibahn. I will look at the bracers, the weighted bracers.
Mm-hmm.
I'll run a hand over them, and I'll turn to him and say, the families of those who have been lost, do they come often to reminisce over the items.
Because a lot of the people that come in here to relieve themselves of these weapons don't have families. Those that do, sometimes their children will come in, their kin, years passed down, come in to look at this and remember that the person that they tried to be after their warring life had ended and their gifting life began. He says, I cater to people that continue this path. The only weapons I forge in here, gentlemen, are that kindness saves souls from damnation. He goes, you don't know how many knees have been on that very floor, people crying looking at these things. You don't know and you don't wish to know. You can't imagine how the blood, and he looks over at that spear that you were talking about, Jeremy, as he walks past the two of you, gets up from the bar, rubs his hand down. He says, you can't imagine how many lives have been changed forever just by this crude device. Puts his hand on the wall like someone seeing that, and puts his head down and goes, God knows how many of them I made. That's in the past. The only things I work on here, boys, are things that I know are going to alter the future for the better. So if you tell me your plans and what you need worked on, or what you need created, and you don't mind spending a few moments to rest an old soul, to make sure that you don't end up on this wall or somebody else, then we can work out a bargain. And what I do takes time. I don't hurry for anyone. I spent the first part of my life doing that. It's not why I'm here.
Suppose it would bring kindness to your day to know that my commission is one to hopefully stop more weapons from hanging on your wall.
He looks at you very cleverly and says, a shield then. And you're surprised how clever he was on that, how well he picked up on that. He says, are you not in fact the shield? You're a walking fortress. More protection than that? He walks up close to you and he looks at you very deep in that visor. He goes, what are you hiding from?
Nothing. I seek to gain more walls for those I care about to hide behind.
It's interesting. I suppose there are things that can be crafted to work with someone of your stature and ability. What are you thinking then?
The tall shield comes to mind. A tower shield.
To hold at all times or to place downward when the time made?
Placed downward. So that if I set in to protect somebody standing behind me, that whatever is coming, it better be strong. And it better be ready.
Do you have those materials on you that you were wanting to bring in here to have him do this with?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so what was that again? The scales of the frost?
Yep.
I'm going to say that on a sack that you've been carrying over your back, almost like a side bag, you would place that down.
Yeah.
And show him, you get him out, or do you explain to him what's in there?
He just set it down and explained to him. In a recent battle, we almost lost two.
He interrupts you in the middle and goes, I heard. I helped provide some of the barrels at the Dwarven Wake. It's commendable. I can certainly do something with this for you. And he goes,
You're welcome to keep whatever you do not use, so that it may come to the betterment of someone else.
he nods. Roll a persuasion check, Jeremy, with advantage because you helped in that battle. And tell me what you get, and I'll decide if he does this or not.
26.
26. Yeah, he
Which
does.
is great because my first roll was in that one.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah, so he definitely does that. Okay, so he takes, looks at those things and sits them over on the counter, and then Hunter, to you, he looks and says, "And for you."
Well, Calibahn looks at his tattered clothes and shakes his little coin pouch. And he's I'm just gonna say, I have little to offer other than my word and whatever I bring back. I bring myself. And,
He walks over towards you in the middle of you speaking and looks up at you slightly. He's tall for a dwarf. And he says, "What more can one man offer another than the future of someone that's not been born yet?"
say it again.
He says, "What more can one man offer than the future of someone that's not been born yet?" And as you sit there and think on it like you are right now for just a moment, he says, "When that means something to you, and we can have a conversation about that, come back to me. I don't have anything here for you today."
He just nods.
Gives you a long, serious look. Goes to grab the stuff to make the shield and goes taking it and walks back behind the bar. And he says, "I'll have Bastille contact you when the shield is ready. And you, man of the earth, contact me when you are." And he goes on back behind there and does his thing. It is 9:42, gentlemen. Danny, we will do this someday throughout the week, and I'll have your conversation with Dorbac, and we will move forward with things. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay.
Yes.
So I'll get ready and stop the recording for tonight, and then I'll talk with you for just a few minutes, Hunter. Then I'm going to crash. I got to get up early tomorrow to do some things.
We can do the stats stuff sometime throughout the week.
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I'll go ahead and stop this. We'll say our goodbyes. Then we'll BS for 5 minutes and be off here. So once again, trying to get things taken care of. The night's getting later. We've made our last pit stop. We're getting to the point now where we're going to be getting some sleep, getting on the ship the next morning, and getting out, and hopefully start using some of these maps we've been creating, which is going to be fantastic. May try to start next Sunday at 6 instead of 6:30 to get everybody there at the same time so we can get some more accomplished. With that, once again, I'm Brian. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you possibly next Sunday. All right, take care, everybody.